January 1st, 2019, and I'm putting my first New Year's resolution into reality. Yeah, finally, I'm going to record the release news for WUDSN IDE Update 1.6.6, which dates June 2014. So you may call it a late New Year's resolution, but after all, it was already my New Year's resolution 2018. Well, nevertheless, let's get it started. So, what was different from the version 1.6.5 to 1.6.6? Well, I was recording one of my tutorials when I realized that some things, when I wanted to present them, they were actually not working as intended. So I back then made that fix. Major intention of that fix was to fix some glitches in the graphics editor's UI and in the Hex Editor, and to make it compatible again with Java 1.6. Well, you may say Java 1.6, that's outdated now. Yes, nowadays it is, but back then it was a real problem, and many people actually still have Mac OS machines with older versions of Java, the initial version from Apple or later versions from Oracle. And by keeping it backward compatible to Java 1.6, I solved a lot of problems for these people running older machines. Yeah, there was also an Eclipse incompatibility that was solved by updating the zero download installation to Eclipse 4.3.2. You can use the old one 4.3.1, which is the minimum requirement. It will still work. Some things like the help work better if you have the newer version. So now for the more important things or interesting things. What's new in the graphics editor? For you to remember, the graphics editor technically is an editor in Eclipse, but it's not for editing the graphics. It's actually for converting the graphics from Atari or other 8-bit platforms to PC and back. So let's look at what has changed. So I switch to the IDE. I have here my samples, which I use to demonstrate the different features. So first thing is, if you have now a conversion file or a graphics file, and previously the buttons were there, they had icons, but you did not really know what they do. So now all of these buttons technically have proper tooltips. Next is sometimes your input got lost. So if you change something here and you forgot to save and you close the editor, then it would just close the editor without reminding you to save the files. So this is fixed now, and also you see this little star here, which indicates that there is a change in your input. So when there is a star and you try to close the editor, it will prompt you to save. Okay, what's next? Yeah, you already saw that. Just typing in here immediately updates this change indicator. And there are new buttons down here in the visualization area. So here is the image view, which you can activate via view, show view, others, and there is then the image view in case it is missing. And there is also the palette view. So let's drag the palette view here. So we see what we have here. We have a black and white picture. Here you see the dimensions of the picture. Here you see how many colors are used and what type of image that is. And now you have the problem, several different problems. First is you typically draw that on a PC program which has a pixel aspect ratio of 1:1. And now if you transfer this to any retro machine, then typically in multicolor mode these machines have a pixel aspect ratio of 2:1. So what you can do is you can change here the aspect to get an idea how this will later on actually look on the real machine, and you can even make that larger on a larger scale. So this really scales up the image on a fixed aspect, depending on how high your resolution on your monitor is. This may be very helpful. So next thing is, even if you want to look at these things, sometimes it makes sense that the image zooms. So I have activated here the zoom toggle. So if there is more space, it will actually zoom, and similarly there is a shrink button. If the shrink button is not pressed, then it will start scrolling if there is less space than the image requires. If you press the shrink button, it will go below that. Yeah, depending on what you want to see or check in the image. That might be useful. Okay, so what's next? So here the script for the conversion of the PC images to any binary format. This editor now has line numbers, which is very helpful, in particular for navigating to errors. So as you see now, the line where the cursor is highlighted, so this simplifies editing. And if I put now an error here by just typing in some garbage, and I click the conversion button, then you see the following. First is the cursor is positioned to the line that has the issue. Second is down here you see the error message that there is now a syntax error and something is missing, and also the error message is highlighted here on the top of the conversion selector. Yeah, so what else has been added in terms of features? Well, there are a number of additional converters for character sets that are now in there by default. And well, that's it regarding the graphics editor. Okay, next is the Hex Editor. The Hex Editor is again not an editor, but as of today it's a visualization of binary files. And it supports display in hex, and it supports detection of different file types. So there are plain binary files, Atari COM files or executable files, disk images with a certain structure, which is new, Atari SAP files, which are sound files, and C64 program files. And depending on what file that is, so this is a plain binary file. Now we can look at, for example, an Atari executable file which consists of multiple blocks, and then you here see in the outline the different blocks, and you can use that to navigate. You see here always the start and the end and the length of the block, once in hexadecimal and once in decimal. And for each block you see the offset in the file and the actual address in memory. So what's new here? Well, there is a limit to the file size you can open in the Hex Editor. This limit has been increased to 8 megabytes. Previously the limit was smaller because opening large files was very, very slow. So this has also been fixed. Now we can, for example, open here a C64 dump which has, well, no, this is just 180. So let's take this one. So this is 1 megabyte, and you saw that it opens within just a blink of an eye. Next is the Atr images, which show you the different sectors of an Atr image. So there's the Atr header and the different sectors. This has been improved. So normally a correct Atr image, if it's double density, it starts with 3 sectors that are 128 bytes long, and only after that these sectors are double density. That is simply because the Atari, when it boots the operating system, it can only deal with 128 bytes sectors. Nevertheless, some people created invalid ATRs that are technically invalid. Most emulators will tolerate them, but the real machine won't. Nevertheless, they are out there in the wild, and to support that, I also made the Hex Editor tolerant to that, so it will also accept incorrect ATRs and just visualize them correctly. Yeah, next is another Atari Disk Image format that was added, so-called K files. K files are ATR files that have a non-standard length. So you see this is a single density, this is a medium density, this is double density, and this is something strange with 14K. So how come this is 14K? Well, technically the ATR format supports different sizes in steps of 16 bytes. Yeah, of course, no physical disk ever looked like that. But people have used this, and there is one conversion program that can take an standard DOS executable file and turn it into a disk image by adding a small loader and making the ATR very small. So if you have such an ATR file and you open it with the Hex Editor, it will now automatically detect that this is a so-called K-file K-file disk image. Why is it called K-file? Well, when you load it, there is a small K displayed at the beginning in the upper left corner. Yeah, that's just the indicator of this loader. So what does it mean? The K-file mode, you actually see the same image in two visualizations. You see it first as a regular disk image, but because it consists logically only of a single file, then you can also see the COM blocks of that file directly. Yeah, that's it regarding the ATR format for the Atari, and of course you have already seen it. Now also the Hex Editor supports the C64 PRG format, which shows you that there is a regular program file that typically starts at 8001. Yeah, that's it for the update, and hopefully the next update video will not take that long because version 1.7 is already there, it is out, and hopefully see you soon.